So what are you doing
We're
here?
just going to predominantly minorities, about 51% Hispanic, 19 point something black, and it's a growing immigrant community. And there's 4 mosques that sits here in Elizabeth. There's one on Broad Street here, about maybe 4 or 5 blocks away, and another one about a quarter of a mile.
And where do you worship?
One on Broad Street. And
Is this the actual train station? I'm BASA News. Is this the actual train station where the bomb was left?
this is actually where it happens. And what I understand from the street level, not the news level, that one of the guys found it, and they found it out of the garbage can. They pulled it out of the garbage can, and they thought it was something. They could make use of it, like most of them do. And then they found out, they seen all the material, and then they came back.
So it was community intervention.
Yeah, it was some of the guys that hang around on the strip here.
Okay,
They drink their beer and they do whatever they think, and then
they stepped up to the plate because they could have walked right by and let it go. Is that correct?
Yeah. And so,
how do you think people outside Elizabeth feel Elizabeth? What do you think its reputation?
Well, in terms of this issue, probably people who are thinking this is the homeland for homegrown terrorists, but that's not the case. This is the case of a young man born out of an immigrant community, parents who pretty much was business owners. They was not poor, although the country they from poor. This kid just became ostracized, isolated, and became angered by some of his own interpersonal problems. Maybe something might have happened, he's a 28-year-old, something might have happened to him as a youngster or whatever. And then, of course, you go to the internet, you got the persuasion of ISO and all the others that are persuading and changing young people, particularly young immigrant Muslims, to radicalization. So one of the things I would suggest, and I am suggesting that tomorrow we have a press conference and we're bringing all the various imams together, and we're calling for to denounce this kind of behavior that is not a representation of the Muslim community, and it's certainly not Islam. Certainly not Islam. This practice of so-called terrorism and vengeance against the infidel is made up. It's not part of the scriptures of the Quran, and it's not part of the examples of the Holy Prophet. So this is what we see is these young people who find themselves vulnerable to this kind of messaging and get caught up, and this is what needs to happen.
And so, beyond that, I mean, before this happened, I have to confess, I'm not in this part of the country. I've only lived in New York about 2 years. I don't know anything about Elizabeth.
Okay.
What do you think people get wrong about Elizabeth? And what do you think people think about it, and how are they wrong?
Well, it's the urban communities always get bad rap. I mean, it doesn't matter. Even though Elizabeth is the 4th largest in the state, we have 5 murders in comparison to the neighboring town of 71 murders. It's pretty much a working class town, but it's still an urban community. It still has its, bustling like any other urban community. With some sporadic crime, some pointed impoverished area, but for the most part, Elizabeth is a pretty thriving community, very diverse community, and for the most part, everybody get along. So, if anything outside, people may feel that it's another urban community with urban problems that find themselves caught up in some of the things that big cities like New York have. Whether it's crime, whether it's a place where people with radical ideas can foster their anger and frustration. Yeah.
And do you think, perhaps it's probably obvious question, but were you disappointed to find out that this guy was from Elizabeth?
Yeah, I was disappointed that it happened in Elizabeth, and I was more than disappointed that it was a young, stupid Muslim kid that got caught up in this idea of hatred in American values, and so that hurts to the core.
And so, what brought you out here this evening?
Well, I haven't really gotten the chance. I've been got zillions of calls from my mosque and from my center, so I never really came to the site. So I wanted to come to this site. Gentleman here wanted to interview me, so I said, let me come to the site because I've never been here.
Yeah.
I haven't been to the site since the infamous bomb discovery.
Yeah.
So I wanted to come here and talk to some of the people that usually hang out here around this time.
And who's usually around here at this time?
Usually, like you have some of the homeless that hang out, or some of the more older guys that's pretty much retired and they come and sit in the back seat there and they maybe just chill out. And they usually, so they'll hang out to the late hours, you know.
Sir, who are you? Who are you with?